Yeah, what's good, Joe? It's your man, the Bigga P, and I'm here to talk about some of my thoughts from three of the fights last night. First fight I want to talk about is Garcia and Morales. As expected, Garcia did win the fight on decision, but I didn't think he was overly impressive. Why do I say that? Because it seemed like, yes, I mean, those wide hooks he was throwing were, they were catchy or whatever, and he eventually did catch Eric with some of them in the later rounds, and he scored a nice knockdown and all. But it surprised me, even Eric, as deteriorated as he is, was still able to, give him trouble with just a simple jab. And that's the one thing that I thought that was very interesting. I mean, just a simple jab was keeping him out of bed. Garcia was actually pretty bloodied up, and that was the one thing about the fight that surprised me. I mean, where I was expecting him to at least blitz Eric from the beginning of the bell, but Eric still has something left. But regardless, I wouldn't say it was a great fight. It was an okay fight. It was passable. I mean, Garcia won, and Eric most likely that was his last stand. He's probably retiring. I don't know if that was confirmed yet or not, but if it is, hope this is his final. Hope this is the final one, because it is one thing that I don't like to see from fighters is them purposely not making weight, which Eric did not seem to want to do. He seems like, what, screw this, I'll pay 50,000, it's whatever. Because that type of unprofessional behavior does hurt the sport. But I think his was the only one where he didn't make the weight, but the fight was against. I know there were two other fights that was supposed to happen. I think that Jose Luis Castillo and Marquez, I believe, they both did not make their weights for their fights, so their fights got canceled. And I found it was just odd, because I've never seen just fighters willingly not making weight, just rather take the fight instead. But regardless, if Eric decides to call it a career, my hat's off to him. He was been a part of some of my favorite fights, in the last, 10, 12 years or so. And I hope he does have a happy retirement. Second fight I want to talk about is Zab Judah versus Vernon Paris. Now, here's where I got this one pretty wrong. I thought in the beginning that I've seen Vernon before on Friday Night Fights or ESPN or whatever, and I thought that he would probably not. I thought Zab was too fast and Vernon would probably knock him out. Because I still left a bitter taste in my mouth, when Zab got knocked down or knocked out by Amir Khan. So I'm thinking to myself, he's probably blowing hot and cold. This is probably his cold stage right now. But Zab looked pretty good. Vernon looked like it was just way over his head. Like this, I mean, honestly, this is his first time on prime time, and just really just got beaten up. From opening bell. All that talking, all that. There was nothing. Zab, just beat him down. Vernon didn't show any of the. I mean, he didn't show too much. I mean, although he landed a combination here and there, but Zab just honed on him. And then, the stoppage was, classic Zab. He hit him a couple hard punches, and then he just trapped him and just blitzed him with some hard combinations. And then it was a very good stoppage. I mean, Vernon didn't have anything left, and Zab took him out. Like I guess the champ you want to call him. He is, but he's not really a champ. But now it's like he's an eliminator. Basically now he has the eliminator now between whoever wins between Amir Khan and Peterson. Now, if he faces Khan again, most likely the same thing's going to happen. If he faces Peterson, I'd say he probably does have a puncher's chance of actually getting rid of him. So time will tell. The last fight I want to talk about is the fight between James Kirkland and Carlos Molina. Now, this fight, now my prediction was for that fight that I expected Kirkland to KO Molina but there was a big if, because Molina has a slick spoiler type of style, and combined with James's chin, which is also suspect, one could see if Molina could take Kirkland's best shots, and pretty much cracked Kirkland's chin, there was a high chance of an upset. And there almost was. Actually, it was going from opening bell. Molina just took it to him, bullied him, did some of the John Ruiz routine, counter punching all night. James he looked terrible. I mean, he looked like he overtrained, and I've seen the clips with him and Ann Wolf, and his training is no joke. But he just looked like overtrained. He looked sluggish. I don't know if it's just maybe that or just the muscle he had, because he is pretty, for a 154 pounder, he is pretty, he's pretty jacked. But regardless, he couldn't get into a rhythm, and then his defensive, glaring defensive mistakes were on display. Molina, when he wasn't clinching or nullifying his attack, he was hitting with very accurate counter punches. If Molina had more pop in his fist, he probably would have scored multiple knockdowns on James Kirkland. But regardless, it was going. Pretty much it was a clink. Although in the later rounds, Molina started holding more and more and more, and it was getting kind of ridiculous. But in the 10th round, James finally got his opening, and floored him. I didn't think the shots were that hard. I mean, it was a simple knockdown, and he was a little off balance, and he got back up. But this is where the controversy came in. Molina's cornerman entered the ring during the count, which is a no-no. I mean, people could say that the disqualification wasn't warranted, but this cornerman did something stupid. He came in the ring during a count. I mean, that's the most foolish thing you could do, and I felt bad for Molina, because holding be damned, he really did fight his heart out, and dirty it was. He pretty much showed that James really needs to tighten up his defense. He needs to really severely work on his defense. And I hated to see the fight end like that, but I understand it, which is why I'm not complaining about the stoppage. James should just be happy that he got the DQ, because for all intents and purposes, he was losing on my cards. I mean, I had him maybe winning one round up to 10. What was even more surprising was there was even, when the judges' scorecards were read, one of them actually had James Kirkland up. And that is that bullshit that I was talking about. Same bullshit happened with Salido and Lopez. Some judges were trying to cook the cards. Here they have, Kirkland was not up by any stretch of the measure. I mean, there's no round. There was probably maybe 2 rounds at the most you could have given him. That's if you scored the 10th round. That really needs to be, something really needs to be done about this piss poor scoring that's going on lately. Because all the cards should have shown Molina up by a wide margin. I honestly would not mind seeing Molina Kirkland too. There probably needs to be, because I think that's a fight that deserves a more definitive result. Because Kirkland didn't win that fight. He won it on technicality, and Molina fought his heart out, but his cornerman was stupid. So I would be definitely open to seeing a rematch that's not in Texas too, because it seems like every time it's in Texas, there's always some sort of bullshit that goes on, and it needs to be. I mean, hey, throw it in New York or whatever. I'd go to Madison Square Garden to go see it. But yeah, it was an interesting fight. And I like Molina. I like Molina ever since I saw him, beat Kermit Cintron last summer. And he deserves another chance. He deserves another break. And if he wins against Ali, then so be it. If he loses convincingly the second time around, so be it. James needs to go back to the drawing board. He needs to find somebody. Now, Ann is a good trainer. Like, physically, I think she really knows how to push someone to her limits. She's a very physical fighter, very offensive. But I don't think as far as defense goes, she doesn't do much at all because these are all very glaring mistakes that she has. And personally, I also found her little motivations between the rounds during the fight absolutely hilarious and somewhat frightening for some things you never thought you'd hear from a female. Any type of female, the stuff that she was talking to him in the corner for. But yeah, I personally think Molina should get a second shot, and there should definitely be a rematch. Scheduled maybe 3 or 4 months from now, and go from there. All right. Well, those are my thoughts from last night's fights. I know there were other fights last night too, more or less. But I just want to talk about those three because those are the three that had I guess the most appeal, the most story to me, and I paid the most attention to. So yeah, that's about it. And I'm about to actually send a couple of those fights into my hard drive and call it a night. All right. And so until next time, take care, everyone. Peace.